What's up, guys? You're in the machine. There is no better place to salute the sun than in the scorching Arizona heat, especially when it's over 100 degrees and it's only 10 in the morning. Surya Namaskar A, Sun Salutation. It's used in just about every flow we do, but a lot of people don't have a really deep understanding, and a lot of yoga teachers don't have time to explain it during a class. I'm going to break it down for you today, bit by bit, so you get the most bang for your buck. Get some water and some fancy tights, and let's get started. Okay, I'm willing to salute the sun, but I'm not willing to let it melt out my eyeballs, so I am going to wear my shades for this. The very first posture in Sun Salutation is mountain pose. You're still, you're stable, you're tall like a mountain. Some people think it's just standing in place, which it sort of is, but there's quite a bit going on, so let's take it from the ground up. Your feet are just barely touching, not smushed together, but not wide, just barely touching at the toes and the heels. You want to ground them, so don't let them feel wobbly. Push them down like you're trying to make a footprint in the sand, and then activate your ankles. You'll know if the ankles are activated. If you look down when you push, you're going to see the little tendons and ligaments expose themselves, like push up through the skin. Next is the quads. We want to activate them, but not hyperextend the knee. So I like to just feel my kneecap lift a little bit. That means my quad's engaged, but I'm not overdoing it. Next is the hips. Most important, we want neutral pelvis here. We're actually going to have to try to do a posterior tilt. All of us have a lumbar curve. It gives us a little anterior tilt, like the tailbone's going this way. We want to neutralize this to make the spine as straight as possible and get us as tall as we can be by tipping it forward but not leaning it. Some people, you tell them to neutralize the pelvis and they just kind of hump forward like this, activating their glutes. What we want to do is use these abdominal muscles to shrink the space between the top of the hips and the bottom of the ribs. So this spot I want to go crunch like that. My glutes are still soft, quads are still engaged, but now my lower spine is pretty much straight. It's not going to go perfectly straight, but I don't want my butt poking out. Fun fact, apes don't have a lumbar curve. That's why they're always leaning forward or running on all fours, or when they do walk upright, they have to counterbalance with their arms, okay? That's not part of the flow though, you can just do that for fun. So, feet, quads, neutral pelvis, using your core. Next is the shoulders. The spine works as a unit. Whenever I bring my lower back forward, my upper back tries to follow. So you'll find yourself adjusting here and your shoulders slumping. We need to battle that by pulling them up, back, and down. So our shoulder blades are squeezed together and depressing down the back toward the hips. Up, back, and down, externally rotating the arms to keep the scapula squeezed together and reaching down to create some traction in the clavicle and lengthen our neck. Some people say you're reaching down to ground yourself with the earth, or your palms are forward to receive instruction, whatever works for you. But I'm telling you, when I do this, this, and this, it makes me taller, okay? Mountain pose, feet, ankles, knees, quads, neutral pelvis, shoulders up, back, and down. Our shoulders are going to stay here almost all the time in yoga, but all the time in Sun Salutation. There's a few times we're going to separate, but for the most part, mountain is your base yoga pose. Even a handstand is mountain upside down with your arms in the air, which brings us to the salutation. Standing properly in mountain pose, some people, when they reach up to salute, jam their shoulders up. We don't want to do that. We want to leave everything where it was and only move the arms. It's kind of hard to do. So I lock everything in place, chin off the chest, reach up, and I still want a space between my ear and my shoulder. I still want to be able to see my neckline here. This is the salutation. Usually looking up, fingers small fingers turning in, palms facing each other, like we're grabbing at the sun. Some people wiggle in a little back bend. That's cool. Tadasana, salute. Next is the forward fold. It doesn't matter what you do with your arms. You can swan dive down, you can pray your way down. It usually seems to me like when an instructor tells you to go through the middle, it's because your class is full and they don't want you smacking the person next to you. The key to this is the flat back, because it's going to start stretching the hamstrings. So from the side, I reached up. I bring my hands to center, and when my thumbs reach my sternum, I start to fold. My back is flat, shoulder blades are still together, legs are straight, and I'm going as far as I can with the flat back until my hamstrings max out. That's the point that I round and reach to the mat. You may or may not get that far down. It doesn't matter. But the spot where you rounded is your halfway point. Some people get confused about the halfway lift. I used to think that if this is like a 180 line, that I was supposed to fold all the way to 0 and come back up to exactly 90 degrees. If you can do that, good for you, but not everybody's that flexible. I have some students who can barely get to their knees, which means their halfway lift is here. That's great. I know some people that get incredibly compressed and their halfway lift is just like looking forward. They don't even take their hands off the mat. From the salute, flat back, scapula still together, engaging the core, hinging at the hips, almost a sensation that I'm arching my back. When the hamstrings max out and I can't do any more is when I allow it to round and I reach. Halfway lift is going to be the spot that I had to round from. That could be anywhere on this 180 degree arc. Lastly, I want to plant my palms to step back to a plank. This can be done a lot of ways. For now, we're going to bend our knees and set them down, and I'm going to get up to the top of the mat so I don't melt my feet on this concrete. So, making sure the Arizona wind doesn't close my gate. Half lift. I bend my knees, plant my palms with external rotation because I want my elbows to my side. I'm not doing this drop down from here. I'm doing it from here. Palms are planted shoulder width. Elbows squeeze in so when I drop, they scrape my sides and they stop me here at 90 degrees. So from my half lift, I bend and plant, and then I engage everything and step back. We can also jump. We'll try that later. But for now, we're going to step and engage and step. Feet are close. Notice that my buns are a little bit high because of this neutral pelvis. I'm not doing like an army push-up in a perfectly straight line with my back bent. I'm actually a little bit high with my buns because I still have that neutralized pelvis. From here, I actually shift forward. This is important to start compressing my wrists and get us ready for other arm balances and things. So there's a slight shift. So when I drop, this is exactly 90 degrees. From my plank, I'm pushing away. This is actually a spot where my scapula will separate. I shift until I really start to feel a little discomfort in those wrists. And then I drop halfway. There should be about 90 degrees at my elbows. Turn my feet over, tops of the feet down, and I lift up for up dog, but I don't let my knees touch. You certainly can if you have to, but this makes for a bigger bow and more of a stretch. Chest forward, looking up, pulling my shoulders back, even if that means I bend my arms a little. I don't want my arms stiff and straight if it means I'm going to jam my shoulders up into my neck. Remember, scapula together, down off the neck with the shoulders. So we're here, up, lift the hips, push back, step once, step twice. There are other cool ways to get to that also. We might check them out later, but for now, I want to land in down dog, driving with my palms, trying to push my chest back toward my legs. One day heels flat, doesn't have to be today. feet are now hip width while hands are shoulder width. And I'm hoping to look like an upside down V. You might be a little bit bent this way, that's fine. Don't bend your knees just to get your chest farther back. That's a posture called bear. We might do that later too, but not right now. You want your legs straight, then settle the heels. From here, I travel back to mountain pose. Lots of ways to do this. You can take little steps to the fold. You can take big steps to the fold. You can hop up. Whatever feels good. From here, it's one more lift. One more fold. Up. Back to mountain pose. Let's do it really quick to put it all together. From mountain. Feet are engaged, quads are engaged. Pelvis is neutral, shoulders up, back and down. Inhale, reach. Exhale, forward fold, flat back until I can't anymore. Then I round. Halfway lift. Plant the palms. Stepping back once and twice. Solid plank. Shift. Chaturanga, 90 degrees at the elbows. Flip the toes over. Upward dog. Downward dog. Inhale, exhale, traveling forward however I like. Half lift, fold again, all the way up. Now, if you really want to impress somebody in your group class, you can jump back and float forward. Here's how. Half lift, plant. Lots of ways I can do this, but I want to land as a spring. So if I shift a little weight forward and jump back, it should be easy to put my feet there, but I don't want to land straight and jam up my lower back. I actually land in the spring. So from here, plant, shift a little forward. That counters the weight of my legs in that direction. And watch how I land it. At the bottom, nice and springy. So much better on your back. From here, we up dog it. And we down dog it. I can step forward or jump forward or float forward. To float, I have to be willing to trust that my fingers will catch me, just like my toes would catch me if I were standing up and leaning forward. I have to err on the side of danger by putting weight that way to counteract the weight that's this way. So jumping is just what it sounds like. I load the spring, look, try to get my hips above my shoulders, and land nice and smooth. Floating just comes in a little slower with the legs straight, and you do need the hamstrings for this. Half lift, fold again. One more time. Watch where my shoulders are below my hips. Not in a straight line, but below. Surya Namaskar A, Sun Salutation. There's a lot to it, but you can do it.
But the whole point of the machine is to relieve you of that suffering.